Well, hello, I'm the lone journalist for KRAZ TV, and here at the Zero Channel we have another great book. I hope the review is as good as the book is. It is called The Queen's Bed, an intimate history of Elizabeth's court by Anne Whitelock. There she is, another powerful woman. Anna Whitelock is a historian, an author, and a broadcaster. She is a senior lecturer in early modern history and the director of the Center for Public History, Heritage and Engagement with the Past at Royal Holloway, University of London. She is a regular media commentator on the Tudors, the monarchy, gender, and politics. Fantastic story. I don't know, was Elizabeth the first Queen of England? I think she was. Enter the private world of a beloved queen and discover a story of intimacy, espionage, and subterfuge. Queen Elizabeth I ascended to the throne in 1558, restoring the Protestant faith to England, but she was dogged by rumor and treachery. At the heart of the new Queen's court lay her bedchamber, closely guarded by the women who helped her dress, look after her jewels, and shared her bed. Elizabeth's private life was a public concern. Her bedfellows witnessed the face and body beneath the makeup and raiment, as well as the rumored dalliances. Their presence provided security as well as propriety in a kingdom haunted by fears of assassination plots and other Catholic stratagems. The women who attended Elizabeth held the truth about her health, chastity, and fertility. They were her friends, confidants, and spies. Nobody knew her better. And until now, historians have overlooked them. In The Queen's Bed, the historian Anna Whitelock leads us into the Queen's quarters, where we encounter sex, gossip, conspiracy, and intrigue vividly embroidered with the colors, textures, smells, and routines of the court. We overhear withering comments in the court and witness Elizabeth's suitors' lust for her body, not to mention her throne. This fine-grained rendering of England's most vibrant eras and one of the most daring heroines, this revelatory look into the daily lives of Elizabeth and her courtiers is the untold story of the Queen laid bare. When Henry died, she was called the bastard daughter because he had fathered her through Anne Boleyn. And the lineage went elsewhere, that people thought, and the first one was Mary Catherine. You know, and that, I got to tell you, King Henry VIII was a piece of work. Murders, I had 6 wives, and he murdered most of those who couldn't give him a son. Eventually, there was Edward in the group there. So when Henry died, the Mary Catherine first became the queen, and well, so I guess Elizabeth was not the first queen. But anyways, I guess it was Edward. They had to have Edward, or Edward was it was a male heir. They wanted the male heir, but they all died. It was just, health reasons and all that. So finally it came down to where Elizabeth was ascended to the throne, and she wasn't Catholic, see. But Anglican Church is kind of a break-off from Catholicism. It really wasn't, I guess you could say it was Protestantism, but really Henry was the head of the church and all of that. But anyways, it just boiled down to Elizabeth finally getting it. And then ever after Elizabeth became queen, she had nothing but trouble. She's one of the longest reigning uh, royalty or monarchs in English history. So 58, and she died in 1603. So she was there 40 some years. And that's a long time because hardly any other monarchs ever lasted that long. But she took care of her health. That was one thing, tried to. But she had bad teeth because she ate too many sweets and all of that. But she never let people into her private life. When she held court, she let you know she was the queen, and you better straighten up. She went on progresses where she went around the country in spring. She changed palaces. I think she had 5 or 6 palaces. You know, Whitehall, Richmond. I don't know if Windsor was around then. But when she escaped London in the summertime, as it was filthy, they hardly took baths, and she wasn't much on it. She didn't take many baths either. But the biggest point is everybody kept asking her, who are you going to have succeed you? And she would never tell them. Eventually it became Mary Stuart's son, James, who was James the Sixth in Scotland. But when he became the king after her death in 1603, he was called James the First. So I guess that's where the King James Bible was finally all put together, because there were other Bibles between them. She had her own privy chamber, and these women guarded her religiously, and they kept their mouths shut. That was the big deal. Some of her parents, like Blanche Perry, stayed with her all of her life. Only thing is with the court, Elizabeth did not like her women attendants marrying and having children and going off. But they eventually had children, so she'd send them off, and then when the child was born, they'd give them to a wet nurse, and she'd have to come back. So some of these women stayed with her all of her life and attended her and knew everything about her and slept in the same bed sometimes. There was trundle beds and, well, I guess crawl in here and keep her warm. I don't know. There's no intrigue about lesbianism or anything that was ever written about this book. And that is neither here nor there. The biggest point was that Spain, Philip really wanted a claim. And they really thought that if Elizabeth went off and they invaded, that Philip would have the crown of England and become the king, you know. Then there was Philip. He was a Catholic Francis over in, or Charles and Francis, I think it was Francis, over in France. So they were intermarrying all of these people. And then she got propositions from Sweden. I think his name was Gustav. Anyways, none of that worked out. She had intrigues. Robert Dudley, she had him in the chamber, and he'd go in there in his nightgown and stuff, and they thought that was impropriety of the greatest degree. But anyways, it was just, supposedly they said she had 2 children, but I don't know how you can hide pregnancies like that. And when she was autopsied, they would not allow her to be cut open. So the mystery remained. It's really sad, because that was the time when Spain had a control in the Netherlands, and there was intrigue going back and forth, and a lot of treatises and tracts were printed outside in the Low Countries in Holland, etc., and Belgium and all that, and they came into the country, and finally they just decreed anybody putting out any of this data about her were arrested and killed. She had a lot of people beheaded, but mostly for treason and treachery. And it really broke her heart. At times, though, you know, like Queen Mary of Stuart, she didn't want to kill her. She did sign the death warrant, and then she reneged on it. And so the council of Parliament and all that went ahead and and made up a new trial and hurried up and executed her. And she was distraught over that. So she had pretty much reign. I did not realize, though, that the Spanish Armada wasn't until late in her reign. And it just so happens they didn't work it out. Now, Spain did land troops around Cornwall, tried to, and in Ireland. And they were going to march across and all this, but it really never materialized like they would have thought. There was the Infanta, the daughter of one of the kings in Spain that they thought they could install on there. And they tried setting her up with the French king's young son. And she had dalliances with Devereux and all of those guys that were very young. So she just really didn't want to get pregnant. She didn't want to have... the minute that she became, or would have had a male heir, he would have put her in the back seat and said, I'm the king. She said, that ain't happening. So you got to give her, she was a strong woman, and she had her own mind. She's red-haired. That's why the Tudor kings and queens, the end of the line, I think, was with her. But she was a very vibrant person, and many, many people loved her. Her body politic, that's the reason, too. She was called the Virgin Queen, and she kept herself for her subjects. It's a fascinating story. I've read about Anne Boleyn and the other wives before, of mother and daughter. But this goes further when she was now the Queen of England, and she carried on the way she wanted to do it. So kudos to her, right? Well, it's just so fascinating. There's a lot of wonderful plates in here, as you can see. The top plate is her when she was 13 or 14 years of age. Robert Dudley, Master of the Horse, and Elizabeth's great favorite. This was him. Lady Nolly, her cousin and confidant. And her death in 1569 left the Queen grief-stricken. This was her. So some of these people attended her when she was a very young girl. And all that. She did get smallpox, but she recovered. She was very vain about covering her face and all that for scars and all that. Probably what helped kill her too is they used white lead and all of that in those days for masking the skin and all that in cosmetics. And I think they used mercury sulfide for lip rouge, so wasn't good. Anne Dudley, Countess of Warwick, was most beloved and in greater favor than any other woman. Lettice Knollys, who referred to as the she-wolf after she married Dudley. This was her. What a great story, though. And it's all the history is there. It's been pieced together. Some of it is lost, but Anna Whitelock has done a great job. This is her effigy in Westminster Abbey. I just think Anna Whitelock has done a grand job on this book. You're just going to have to read it yourself and see the intrigues in the court and understand why religion just is the bane of differing kingdoms and dynasties and stuff, you know. Anyways, I gotta go, but I hope you'll read the book like I did. I read every word of it. The Queen's Bed, An Intimate History of Elizabeth's Court. And that got me to reading this because I'd read Mother and Daughter, the story of Anne Boleyn and Elizabeth when she was younger. So thanks for watching KRZ-TV, and you can get this book at your library also. Thanks for watching, and watch all of our other stories and book reviews over at the Zero Channel, a channel of KRZ-TV.